Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic, Appalachia, home in my heart, always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Down Home Virginia. I'm Sherry McKinney.
And I'm Norm Hyde. Coming up this month on Down Home Virginia. While Virginia's dairy industry has been shrinking for years, there's still strong interest in getting into the dairy farming business.
The American Farm Bureau has sued the EPA over the Chesapeake Bay. We'll explain.
And we'll take you to the kitchen of the governor's mansion to see how the executive chef uses local foods for Virginia's first family. Welcome back to Down Home Virginia, everyone. Sherry, this month we're coming to folks from the banks of the Mattaponi River in eastern Virginia, which scientists say is one of the cleanest rivers feeding into the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, primarily because it's not very developed through here, as well as the farmland and forestry that surround it.
That's right. And while farmers and all Virginians want to improve water quality feeding into the bay, there is a big argument on what's the best approach to do that.
That's right. And unfortunately for many farmers throughout the state, they've seen their farmland go to the side because of regulations. And especially the dairies in Virginia, they've gone out of business left and right over the last decade.
But that leads us right into our first story this month. At a time when the dairy industry is shrinking, 2 new dairy farms have just opened in Rockbridge County.
The last few years haven't been kind to Virginia dairy farmers. Low milk prices, high fuel costs, and drought have taken their toll. In 1997, there were 1,065 Grade A dairy farms in Virginia. As of January 2011, that number had dropped to 691 farms. So it's good news that not 1, but 2 new dairies set up shop in Rockbridge County in the past year. While one is a large operation and one is run by just one farmer, both operators share a love of dairy farming.
I love being out here working with the cows and the land and growing crops and, working with the equipment and stuff, and just the lifestyle in general has really drawn me to it. And, a lot of people don't understand that, and, it's you really have to enjoy what you're doing to be doing this.
We've custom farmed and done for other dairies, corn and hay and stuff, but never actually milked, so it's kind of a new experience for us. But we was willing to learn and, kind of jumped into it.
Whipple says dairy farming is in his blood. His father was a dairy inspector. He's worked on dairy farms all his life, and he has a degree in dairy science from Virginia Tech. But with the economy in the tank when he went into business in 2009, he built his farm with used equipment. He and his fiancée, Stephanie Hall, are deliberately staying small, milking only 95 cows. But that means they get no time off.
But basically, we want to keep it to where we do all the work and don't have the added expense of a full-time employee, because I don't think we can make the numbers work in this current situation having, a full-time employee. And
McClung says when the economy slowed, he and his brother decided a monthly milk check could help keep their family business solvent. They saved a lot of money by using their own construction background and equipment to build their new milking parlor and barn.
A lot of it's not hard work, it's just constant work. Every day you got your chores and stuff to do, and you get your challenges with the cows. It's always a little something, you got a doctor on, or you calving or something going on all the time. But like I say, we like animals, and so we just wanted to keep a farming going, and we thought the dairy would be the way to go.
While they have different business models, both dairy farmers are taking steps to protect the environment on their farms. McClung says they already have an outlet for their manure. They'll use it in an already existing compost business. And Whipple rotates his cattle on pastures and uses no-till planting techniques.
We get the waste from Virginia Horse Center, their shavings and stuff, and then we've brought it in and made compost out of it, and then we mix it in topsoil, make like a potting soil for people to put in the gardens.
We have 5 different paddocks that I rotate my cows around, and just keeps them cleaner for one thing. It's better for the environment. We've put in a lot of watering troughs for them to drink out of, and that's better than them trying to drink out of the creek and getting all muddy. And it really, from that standpoint, is better for the cows and, better for the environment as a whole. The ag industry has done a lot here in the last several years to be better stewards of the land.
Both dairy farmers are looking to the future. Whipple wants to slowly grow his business, and McClung hopes his children will be able to expand the dairy into local cheese and ice cream processing. With their can-do attitudes, both stand a good chance of surviving in these tough times for dairy farmers. Blessed with abundant mountains and forest land, Rockbridge County also has 807 farms. While not one of Virginia's top 10 agricultural counties, Rockbridge County is a major livestock producer with almost 31,000 head of cattle and dairy cows. The largest row crop is hay production, worth almost $61 million. While Rockbridge County is the 8th largest beef cattle locality in Virginia, there are also 1,500 head of sheep in the county and 7 Grade A dairies.
The American Farm Bureau has sued in federal court against the Environmental Protection Agency's nutrient plan for the Chesapeake Bay watershed. Finalized at the end of 2010, the EPA plan dictates how much nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment would be allowed into the bay from all sources such as sewage treatment plants, manufacturing, small business, homeowners, and farm fields. At the annual American Farm Bureau Federation convention in Atlanta last month, AFBF President Bob Stallman said the EPA's total maximum daily load plan has gone too far.
EPA likes to call the TMDL a pollution diet. But this diet threatens to starve agriculture out of the entire 64,000 square mile Chesapeake Bay watershed. The way they're laying that program out, in that essence, it's a pollution diet for the whole Chesapeake Bay, and there will be a tendency, both for economic reasons and also as a result of what we believe are flawed studies that indicate agriculture is this huge problem, and therefore the cost burden is going to come straight down on agriculture in that 64,000 square mile area. And obviously, if you put too much of a cost burden on it, you're not going to have that agriculture occurring there.
The AFBF lawsuit filed in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, contends that the Clean Water Act requires a process that allows states to decide how to improve water quality and take into account the economic and social impacts on businesses and communities. The suit contends the EPA relied on inaccurate assumptions and on a scientific model that it admits was flawed to establish the TMDL limits and therefore violates the Administrative Procedures Act.
Virginia cattlemen strive to provide good care for their livestock, and that's why so many people turned out for nationally known animal behavior expert Dr. Temple Grandin last month.
Turnout for the annual Virginia Forage and Grasslands Council presentations more than tripled this year with Dr. Grandin on the program. Grandin, who is autistic, has used her special insight into sensory motion to consult for several major meat processing firms and hundreds of livestock farms and ranches across the country.
People are getting more and more interested in using low-stress, calm methods of handling. You know, here in Virginia, there's getting to be a lot of interest in intensive pasture grazing, where you have to switch cattle from pasture to pasture, and one of the best ways to do that is leading cattle or calling cattle, and they voluntarily move through the pasture system.
Grandin says it only makes sense to handle livestock in a calm manner instead of forcing them through gates and chutes. Stressed animals don't gain weight well, and frightened cattle are dangerous to their human handlers. Her best advice for Virginia farmers is to remove items from their facilities that frighten cattle, such as dangling chains, dark entrances, and sudden movements, and to work cattle quietly without shouting. More tips on livestock behavior and humane slaughtering techniques can be found at her website, grandin.com.
Up next, Chef Maxwell has a recipe for sweet potato and corn fritters.
Hi, I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, we're going to talk about butterfly gardening. Stay with us.
It was a tough year in Virginia for some top crops. According to the Agriculture Statistics Service, major crops produced much lower yields in 2010. Officials say crops like corn, soybeans, peanuts, cotton, and hay yields were significantly lower than 2009. Corn for grain production is estimated to be 52% below the 2009 production. Meanwhile, soybean production in 2010 is estimated to be down 33% from the previous year. Virginia's peanut production is estimated to be down 27% from 2009, while cotton production is 15% lower and hay production is down 18%.
I grew this apple on my family farm.
I harvested this apple with my own 2 hands. I transported this apple to market.
I purchased this apple for my store.
I bought this apple for my family. And I protected this apple, the farm it grew on, and everyone who touched it by joining Save Our Food.
Help Virginia Farm Bureau protect farms and families by joining Save Our Food. Sign up today at saveourfood.org.
I love this apple.
Hi, Hi, and welcome to Chef Maxwell's Kitchen. Once again, we're down here in Norfolk, Virginia at the Culinary Institute of Virginia, where we're training the next generation of great Virginia chefs. We're going to be playing with some food today, some Virginia food as usual. We've got some corn, and this is not a good season for fresh corn, but it's frozen and it works really, really well in this recipe. And we got sweet potatoes, and this is a good time of year for sweet potatoes. And I'm going to be using some ginger and some other ingredients to make sweet potato and corn fritters. Really good stuff. We're going to start with some ginger, right? I'm just going to trim off a little piece here. Right? The best way to peel ginger is with a spoon. Just kind of scrape it down the side. That way you just get the skin, you don't take much of the ginger away. Right? So there we go, we got nice peeled ginger. Move that off to the side. I'm going to trim this little stem end off, right, both these sides. Now I'm going to cut long, thin slices. And I'm going to cut long, thin strips. And now I'm going to cut really tiny little dices. That's all I need. I'm going to throw some of that in with this flour. Right. I'm going to throw an egg yolk in here. Right. And I'm going to throw some corn in here. And I'm going to throw some milk in here. And I'm going to stir that up good with my whisk. But before I do that, I'm going to finish whisking these egg whites. I've got them egg whites, one egg white that I started. The recipe calls for one egg separated. That means you put the yolk in one container and the white in another. And I'm going to whip this until it's relatively stiff. Nice wrist here to get it just some soft peaks. There we go, some nice soft peaks coming up now. Turn it to that camera so you can see what's going on. All right, so I'm going to leave that, set that over here, bring this in, and mix this up. Now I'm going to take the sweet potato. Right. I cooked them ahead of time, right, so they're nice and soft, and then popped them out. And if you cook them ahead of time, the skin just peels right off. Really easy to do. So I'm going to mush. I don't need both of these, so I'm going to take this one out. I'm going to mush, just roughly kind of mush up the sweet potato. And put that in here. That was a big sweet potato. All right, so we're going to mix this around, fold it in. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more water here because I want this to be more like a pancake batter. You can cook these at any thickness, but I'm going to want this more like a breakfast pancake. So add a little bit more milk to it. So we got this. Now I'm going to fold this egg white in. And this will help give it some height. So just going to fold it in to give it some lightness. The last thing we're going to do with this is fold in a little bit of fresh thyme. I got some right here. Now, if you get it nice and young, you don't have to pull the leaves off. Usually if you get it in those little packages, you got to pull the leaves off the stem because the stem is too thick. But if you get it while it's growing like that, you can just mince up the thyme. Get a little bit of green and that wonderful aroma into our pancakes. All right. Going to add some butter here. Right, let that melt. We want this to be about a medium heat. You don't want it to brown too fast. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to put that one there. I'm going to cook 2 of these in this pan. All right, they'll spread out a little bit. All right, there we go. And this is going to take about 3 or 4 minutes to cook really good. So we're going to let this cook. When I get ready to turn them over, we'll be back so you can see that. All right, well, we're back. I turned these over, and I've cooked some bacon, some good Smithfield-style bacon. Right. And I'm going to take these fritters, lay them down here, and garnish this plate with a little bit of bacon. And if this isn't breakfast, it doesn't exist. Get a little bit of that thyme. Sweet potato and corn fritters with some good crispy bacon, thyme, and ginger in the mix. Remember, here at Chef Maxwell's, we always play with our food, but it's better if the food is safe, fresh, and locally grown. For more delicious recipes using Virginia-grown fruits and vegetables, contact Lisa Lloyd at the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services at 102 Governor Street, Richmond, Virginia, 23219.
Chef Maxwell's recipes are listed on the Save Our Food website at saveourfood.org.
When you're thinking about planting a butterfly garden, you might consider putting it right in your own backyard. And right amongst me are great plants that attract butterflies. The blue plumbago, which is a great ground cover plant over here, and then we have the blue mist shrub. Now you don't need a lot of these plants. Maybe 1 to 3 plants of each works well right in your backyard. But it's filled with bees, butterflies, hummingbird moths. Well, really, some people call them clear-wing moths. They look like baby hummingbirds. And then over here, you can see the summer blooming phlox. And this blooms throughout the summer and all the way late into the season, almost till frost. And this is covered with butterflies. And this is a very fragrant plant, by the way. And as we're walking, in addition to the white butterfly shrub, there are blue butterfly shrubs, purple butterfly shrubs, and they bloom all season long if you keep deadheading them. And right in front of the blue mist shrub with the beautiful bee here, we've got Nepeta, or the cat mints, right along the ground that's in full flower, and that attracts butterflies at the same. And you can see the butterflies flying all around me. You can even plant the Rosa Sharon, or the sometimes called the tree hibiscus, and this variety is known as Diana. Beautiful single white bloom that will attract butterflies in the garden. Only need 1 plant. And then over here we have 1 or 2 plants of what is known as the dwarf butterfly shrub. And as you can see, they do get big if you don't prune them, but they attract, you know, the sulfur butterflies, the monarchs again, and then even the clear wing moths. And over here we have a planter that is filled with lantana. So you can use tender annuals in the garden at the same time. Keep in mind, you want to surround where you're really going to be sitting and spending time in a garden, like this next garden I'll show you. After a long, hard day, maybe at work, you can just come and sit right in a patio surrounded with these plants which attract not only the butterflies, but even the hummingbirds. And this is a fantastic plant. It's a tender perennial, and in cold areas you have to bring it indoors, and it's known as Salvia black and blue. And one thing I really didn't mention is most of these plants are also frequented by the honeybee, and we all need to plant as many things that help our honeybees as much as possible. But just imagine after a long day, relaxing for the evening, right in your own backyard, surrounded with butterflies and hummingbirds. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, click on the In the Garden website. That's inthegardenradio.com.
Up next on Down Home Virginia, we'll explain why Virginia's first chef keeps it close to home. Stay with us.
Virginia is a very fortunate state to have so many great, wonderful local growers. And one chef isn't ignoring the bounty before him. We take you now to the Virginia Governor's Mansion, where the executive chef there says, look local first.
While most of us only have to feed our families, Todd Schneider plans meals for Virginia's first family and many special occasions at the Governor's Mansion. His first step, find as many fresh and locally grown foods as possible, a challenge he hopes all Virginians will adopt.
Get our economy going by supporting our people in our own backyard. We have so much here, so I guess for me as an advocate to the food growers is for the public to buy from these people. You'll find one, you'll love your food even much more than you loved it before, and also you're supporting the local environment, which we really need to do.
Schneider, who also owns a catering company and Great Seasons restaurant in Midlothian, practices what he preaches. He began his career working as a waiter for Martha Stewart and then served as a cook in her kitchen. That's where his passion for fresh and locally grown foods began, and he brought it all with him to the Governor's Mansion in 2010.
One of the things that I stipulated that I wanted here was a garden. They had a garden, but it really wasn't a great garden. Now the Virginia growers have put in a fantastic garden in the back of the mansion for me here. So I have even at my own disposal things that I need that are grown in Virginia. What I've learned a lot is about the meat. We have poultry, we have fish, we have lamb, we have anything you want in Virginia. And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Schneider credits a surge in TV shows geared to preparing fresh food for the interest in cooking in America.
People now love watching the food networks and all the food shows and seeing what is made and watching chefs. And what I love is I can use all this product. It's given to me, or I go out and purchase it, and I have it right here and I can cook with it and cook many things. But what I love about it is having it in our backyard.
Norm, I have to tell you, this was one of my favorite shoots. Chef Todd is quite the character, and it's a lot of fun seeing how he approaches cooking.
And it's great to see all those local Virginia products being used every day in the Governor's Mansion, and those steaks, oh, that's a shoot I wish I was on. That's going to do it for this month on Down Home Virginia. Next month, we're going to show you how Virginia's young farmers are using social media to tell agriculture's story to the world.
That's right, and Mark Viette's going to have some great suggestions for folks on how to plant their summer vegetable garden. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good month.
Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic, Appalachia, home in my heart always. You know, make my home in Virginia.
I grew this apple on my family farm.
I harvested this apple with my own two hands. I transported this apple to market.
I purchased this apple for my store.
I bought this apple for my family. And I protected this apple, the farm it grew on, and everyone who touched it by joining Save Our Food.
Help Virginia Farm Bureau protect farms and families by joining Save Our Food. Sign up today at saveourfood.org.
I love this apple.